Particularly.
Well, she has seniority, so I have no choice, I guess.
Kim, have you ever heard of that?
No, I didn't
The
get this.
Japanese guy who was making tourists in like
Oh,
the
yeah.
parking lot thing? I tried it in my backyard where you dig and place.
I know they got the.
We'll call this workshop, this committee, the whole meeting to order. We did do the pledge at our earlier meeting, so I think we'll go right to roll call.
Commissioner Kramer,
Present.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Present.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Present.
Chairman Wessel,
Here.
Commissioner Ross,
Here.
Commissioner Allgaier,
Here.
Commissioner Lautner,
Present.
all present.
Could I have approval of the agenda or any additions if we have any?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
We have an agenda approved, 7-0. Thank you. This time, we do invite the public to make public comment. If you'd like, please direct your comments to the board. You have 3 minutes on a topic of your choosing. Yes.
Hello, my name is Amity, recruit Maple City. I was going to come last Thursday to your 9 o'clock meeting about the vehicles. I thought, no, I'm not driving all the way from Davis Lake to here for just one item. And today you have one item, and here you have effective government, all right? Can you put more than one item on the agenda at a time and save us some money, all right? Because I know you guys get a per diem for showing up and stuff, and also you have lives of your own. So it would save the taxpayers a little money if you put more than one item and took care of it at one time. So try to save us a little money and time. There's a lot of us that would like to be here and hear everything, but we can't come every single day for a one item agenda. So we would appreciate that a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes, Bill.
Did you see those spreads?
I knew she was great.
Grab a cup of coffee.
There's not enough, I've got one, I just didn't find everything.
I started the clock, Bill.
How many seconds?
7.
Okay. Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. The handout, first of all, I'll just mention this briefly. I'm going to offer these to every board member, and the administrator, and the clerk here. So let my people go. 2 hour and 17-minute DVD. And get you right up to snuff on all the ways the election fraud can happen. So, but I'll talk about that in the last 5 minutes. This first handout is one I gave out to the clerk and the 4 other people that were here during the logic and accuracy test. And these are 3 issues I didn't cover during the meeting. I thought the meeting was well done for what it was. Everyone was given an opportunity to ask questions and got respectful answers, and so that was good. I still think the logic and accuracy tests do not prove that things are ready, and that's what these 3 items are about. The first one is it's an excerpt from it's on the website tcfamily.org. Dominion is finished transcription. I think it's public comment number 14. It's labeled that way. This is Mark Cook. He's got all sorts of certifications in computers for 30, 45 years, something like that. And down at the bottom, I'm just going to read that. And they say, no, I went, right at the top, starting there. Our election officials think they go through this thing called a logic and accuracy test. And they say, no, I went through the logic and accuracy test. Everything came out fine. Okay, but what they don't understand is the vendors came up with the logic and accuracy test. So our elections officials are good-hearted election officials going through the grueling test, and they get the right answer. So they're proud that they did everything they were supposed to. But what they don't know is the logic and accuracy test didn't actually test. What the logic and accuracy test didn't actually test is a setup, and they're being set up. Build manufactured confidence in those systems. And then these 4 election officials are passing that on to everyone else. The whole operation, not the election officials, but this whole way it's done is disgusting because it's not a true test. And I'm out of time, but the Haldeman report gives true evidence, and that's number 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Any other public comment? Yes, Renee.
I'll be real quick. My name is Renee Weiler from Leelanau, and I just want to give you a legal notice. This schematic here tells us who owns Dominion, and it goes right to Beijing. And a lot of effort and time went into getting this information from the dark web, because you're not going to see it on the web. I didn't put this together, I am just distributing. And I would like you all to have a copy of it. Next week, I will be showing you how it interfaces.
Renee?
Yes.
Let me take these so that you can speak into the microphone, please.
Alrighty.
She's got ducks.
So next week, I will be telling you how the mortgage data is harvested through HSBC Bank, that's Hong Kong Shanghai Banking.
Here's me.
So there are 18 patents securitized, I think about 400 million. And this proves that all of our data, our mortgage data, and our voter data is going right to the Chinese. It's very simple, and all I ask is that you take notice of this and do something to help us put together some kind of task force to protect our votes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Any other public comment? Any commissioner comment?
I kind of like the one item per meeting. I mean, but there's only 30 days in a month. And sometimes some of our agendas have 5 email attachments and takes a lot of studying. So I think we do a pretty good job spreading it out. But I hate meetings more than anybody. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, we do have a full meeting today. We will be meeting until about 2 o'clock with our consultant today. We've all seen him in the building before. He did bring to us some fat-free.
I will talk about that.
And he's also prepared to give us a break about halfway through because the administrator has ordered pizza for people, and we'll be getting pizza in the room right next door and bringing it back here to eat with Chet. So Chet, thanks for coming. And the name of this is Effective Governance, and it's all yours, and this is committee and very informal.
All right, well, pizza and punch cubes, a good way to start. And for the record, I want to tell you that those punch cubes were made this morning at Potter's Bakery. I refuse to buy the Spartan punch cubes because I believe they're mediocre donuts at best. And I'm thinking about filing a class action lawsuit against Spartan because they give Polish Punchies a bad name. Those are mediocre donuts you see them at the Tom's or so forth. So, and I bought Punchies for another reason. And I think, Mr. Lawson, the one I remember, when I came here 12 years ago, when I signed my contract, I believe you brought Punchies for everybody.
Yeah?
Yeah, so.
From Cedar.
But you brought Punchies.
Yeah.
It was February, and that Tuesday is next week, next Tuesday. So
Oh,
it's that time of
gosh.
year, so you each have to eat your Punchies as part of the workshop. And Gwen, I believe you already started by eating yours, Gwen, right?
Started.
You already had your
It's
Punchies?
gone. It's gone.
Mine too. Good.
No, good.
I'm working
Good.
on
Off to a good start. Well,
And
thanks
thank
for,
you.
bringing me back in here. On the workshop on effective governance, part of it is pretty much the same what you saw in December of 2022 when 4 of you were new, and that was new, and we did a workshop. Some is updated. I have some additional information, but I want this to be interactive. So let me see if I can work this here, and feel free to ask questions along the way. There we go. Okay. I've done this now for the past year for quite a few groups. So just want you to know this is not geared specifically to what has been going on in Leelanau County the past year. Much of what you hear is you heard in 2012, or I'm sorry, in 2022. I did the workshop for the Northwood Village Council in October. This summer I spent 5 months as their interim village manager. I did the same workshop last month for the Missaukee County Board. Their administrator took a job in Traverse City as a manager. They asked me to do the search, and then they asked me to do the same type of workshop as their transition to a new administrator. 2 weeks ago, the city of Traverse City asked me to do this with their commission, and so we did the same workshop there. And I'm doing one in a couple weeks for Kalkaska. They just hired a new administrator. They've not had one for 10 years. So that's been an interesting process. I spent about 10 months in Kalkaska working with them. Truly there we have to start from scratch. Simple things, job descriptions and who does what and so forth. So when you don't have about 10 years, it was a long process, but they have someone and they'll be starting in April, and then we're doing a workshop with that person also. All right, I found this quote. It's from Peter Hoekstra. Some of you know Peter. He was our former congressman from Northern Michigan, from Cadillac. Knows a lot of respect for him, but I think you all agree. Good governance requires working towards a common ground. It's not easy. We deal with a lot of issues. It's challenging, especially I think more now than in the past, but I thought it's a good way to start that. It is a challenge, I think, everywhere. And how do you proceed and still get things done? So what you'll see here is data that I compiled, and it's not just from me, it's just not my ideas. The Michigan Leadership Institute has been studying governance and workshops for since 1998. Tim Quinn was the founder of that. He was the president of Northwestern Michigan College. I served as his assistant for several years, and a lot of the data came from him. Also, research that I conducted. I was fortunate to be, about almost 20 years ago, probably, the state of Michigan had a leadership program, and I was one of 30 people selected statewide. We spent a year focusing on different issues. I focused on board governance, and so a lot of this research came from that. And it was verified through some educational classes I took through the University of Nebraska, and my focus was on board. So this is based on, like I said, it's just not my views. It's based on a lot of research in the past 25 years. Oops, we're not too far there. Let's go back one. All right. I want to just focus on this, and I look at my notes from 2022, and we had some challenges there, and I brought this up. I like history, I like quotes, and I think we all could abide by this. We all need to live by the better angels of our nature. You've all had a tough year. It's been a tough year for everyone. And I think going forward, just like Abraham Lincoln said, I'm not comparing this to the Civil War, but we all need to try to do our best and look at the better angels of our nature. And on that note, I'm going to give you all a little task. I want each of you to take 2 cards. 2 cards each, including you.
Are we going to play poker?
You'll see. Take
No,
the cards
euchre?
first. On top, all in the top, let's say, left corner, put your name, just a one line.
On both of them?
No, just one, just one.
Okay.
How do you spell Wessel?
Put your name. And you can't even punch these through this.
How do you spell Melinda?
M-A-L.
I feel your pain, Mr. Russell, I feel your pain here. Just put your name, okay? If you can't remember, look at the name tag in front of you.
Yeah, flip it around. Yep.
Okay, everyone put their name? Deb, did you put one too?
You said upper left, right? Correct? And just one card.
Just one card, on one.
I was cheating and I put mine on the upper right.
I did too.
Okay, so we're gonna call
I
you
thought it was
Jen.
pretty simple, but, okay. Okay, take that card with your name, pass it to the person to the right.
To the right.
Yeah. And so-
There's so many instructions.
I know, it's Okay, so.
We have an issue.
She's having a difficult, stop! Having a difficult problem with directions.
All right. Well, it's good to have laughter, so. All right, you should have a card, the person sitting to the right of you, write one thing that you admire about that person. Let's start off on a good note.
The person to your left, you're saying?
No, the name that you card, the name that you have
Okay.
Oh, okay.
on your card, write something that you appreciate them, that you admire about them, that you like about them.
You having a hard time, Melinda?
I know, I actually could think of several things. I had a hard time choosing one.
I think as a group everywhere, we kind of.
But it wasn't
focus on
beauty.
Sometimes the negative,
Thank you.
and we don't appreciate the positive things. And obviously, all of you spend a lot of time together. But you don't really get a chance to probably compliment each other that much. So just one thing that you really admire or appreciate about the name on the card that you have. You can eat your donut if you want. I'm sorry, the punch cake, not a donut.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Gotcha.
Up there.
Was I supposed to wait for?
No,
Permission?
No. As soon as you get a punch key, you can eat it. You don't have to. All right, everyone has something? Yeah?
Yep.
All right. Deb, you want to start?
Sure.
Okay.
Actually, you told us to go to the
That's
right.
right, that's right.
Okay, so actually it's Michelle, and I said she's very committed to her profession as clerk.
Think we all agree with that? The longest serving clerk down in the state of Michigan,
Wow.
right? Ty?
Well, I had Deb, and the word that came to my mind was integrity.
I had Ty, and I thought reasonable, thoughtful.
Well,
You told me one thing. I had
They,
Doug.
they were related to, so I was-
all right.
Fairness
There it is.
for Doug. I have Gwen, and I wrote dedication and sticking to things well.
I had Kama and I said she's graceful, knowledgeable, hardworking, kind, and she loves the natural world, which I appreciate.
She can't follow directions.
I had Jamie in the wrong corner here.
That's always where I am.
She has a little bit more heavy role than most of us. I put down supermom.
All right. That's quite a compliment.
He hasn't talked to my kids.
I, of course, had Jim O'Rourke, and I put service to country.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For many years. Madam Clerk?
I had Melinda, and I wrote knowledge of county government and dedication to family.
Got that right.
All right. I think a lot of times we just focus on the challenges and everything. So in the same manner, in your other card, if people did know from the outside, they think that everything's not going well in the county, but that's not bad. Ty pointed out that Rotary meeting that a lot of issues, you've made a lot of progress, you're working together well as a team on some issues. It's the challenges that get all the publicity. So on the other card, write one thing that you're proud of that happened in 2023 here as a county board.
One thing.
Yeah, just one thing that, if you look back at last year, one positive accomplishment or event or project from 2023.
Can it be an overall thing,
It
not
can
like
be-
necessarily
it-
like a specific
It can be
project,
anything
but,
you want.
okay, cool.
You know, if you look back at last year, what's one thing that sticks out in a positive manner?
Wow.
You can think of one.
Okay, we'll flip this time. Michelle?
Well, I only wrote one word, so
That's
I'll just
right.
have to ad lib.
That's right.
It's a compound. No one killed each other, and my office stuck together.
Ah, very well. I put down balanced budget and good policy.
And good what?
Policy?
Jim?
I put down that we acquired a new detective for the sheriff's department, which is a major.
Yeah. I know that's been a goal, that was a goal for quite a few years.
And we were way behind compared to the other counties.
I have been surprised, I mean, despite publicly how things have been going, I feel like we work as a team really well. And I don't feel like partisan politics are really that much of an issue. And I've been really proud to get to know all these people individually and strengths and, yeah. Yeah.
Agree.
Emma?
I wrote the formation of the Energy Futures Task Force.
Right?
We worked together on tough issues, and we created an energy task force, and we're finishing our building.
Respectful teamwork.
Whatever.
I said, despite our differences, we've all remained committed to service to our residents in all of our decisions.
And I wrote down departmental support and leadership.
Actually, put it in what somebody talked about, you'll see in my slide, so that's a good sign. All right, very good. Well, you know, sometimes you just have to focus on what's going right and on the positive issues, and there's a lot of things. And I bet you each could have put down 4 or 5 things if you had time. But my point is, there's a lot of good things going on that sometimes people overlook, and sometimes we get more focused on the negative things. So it's always good to look back and what's going well. And there are a lot of things going well here. So let's go to the next slide. Unfortunately, this year has been a challenge. I mean, there's no doubt about that this past year and so forth. So I think another quote from Abraham Lincoln, it's also from the Bible. A house divided against itself cannot stand. And I think you're kind of at the crossroads of how to go forward. It's just, you've gone through tough times, but historically, a lot of times things get tough and then they get better. And so you got to keep that focus. But there needs to be unity, and I think it's a great quote. This was during the middle of the Civil War, and they got through it. And it's also from the Bible. Most people didn't know that. Most people, when you Google this quote, it comes out Abraham Lincoln, but it is in the Bible. And there's another theory I want to talk to you about that you may not know about. Are you familiar with the dark night of the soul theory?
I am.
There's a religious connotation, there's a other one. So when is it the darkest?
Before the dawn.
Right before the sun comes up. It's how you react at that moment. If you look through history, and there's a lot of research done, if you look at any world leader that has significant impact, they all have a dark night. They all have major tragedy, losses, challenges. They could have given up, and some people do, or it makes you stronger and you go forward, and that experience makes you stronger and leads you to great things. If you Google any world leader in the last 200 years that has struggled and what's done great things, you'll find that they experienced a dark night. And they'll even talk about President Roosevelt. Both of them talk about their dark night. Theodore Roosevelt lost his wife and a child and experience. Franklin had polio. You look at through history, Winston Churchill talked about his dark night, where he almost gave up. He thought it was hopeless, but they did not. They kept going forward. From a religious perspective, it's from the 15th century. If you did research, you find that both Pope John Paul II and Mother Teresa both talked about their dark night experiences, how they really struggled for a long time. But they got through it and went on and did great things. It's hard to believe that those two people struggled so much about their faith, but they did, and they were very open about it. They all went through a dark night. So it's been a challenging year for everyone here, but what happens after the dark night, the sun comes out and things get better. I think we all have the ability to get through this and go forward. So I'm going to talk about the SWOT survey that I did in 2012, because that brought up during the survey you did. Some people have called me about that. There's been some misconceptions about why it happened and what the results were, and I just want to review it. And so what I did is I went back to the minutes from 2012. This is right from the minutes. I want to show it's accurate. So what happened is I came in 2012. Before I came on, I was hired in February. I didn't start to May. I met with each of the commissioners privately. And there's some issues surfaced. The administrator prior to me was here for about a year. There were some challenges there. I also found out that there was some dialogue about creating a finance department at that point. And that's not the first time. In the late 90s, the board created a finance department on a 3-2 vote. I believe that was a bit of a surprise. I wasn't here, but it was a 3-2 vote. It was in place for 2 years. The structure did not work out. It went back to the clerks. But when I came here, even before I took office, several of the commissioners were behind the scenes talking about creating a finance department. So really, this has been an issue for 25 years, if not longer. I actually found a memo that the clerk did not see. She's the one actually that told me about it, that there actually was a legal opinion and structure how to create a finance department in 2011, 2012. Unfortunately, at that time, there was once again, no dialogue. The clerk was caught off guard by it. It caused significant friction between the administrator at that time and the clerk's office. And at that time, several commissioners were behind the scenes talking about the finance department. But that election, there were 3 new commissioners that came on in 2012, that took off in 2013, and that was not on their radar to do it. But there were some misperceptions about the survey I did in 2012. I know it was referenced to a survey that Dr. Skolton did. There's some public comments about it. Some people contacted me about it. So I just want to go over what happened here and the results. And this is right from the board meetings. And so this is small. I didn't bring my glasses, but what I did is every employee got a paper survey. I want to keep it paper so it wasn't by email names. I did ask them to put whether they were in this building or next door. Of the 46 people, I think 39 were from this building. The people next door really did not participate in that. So this was based on these two feedback on this building. The positive things, SWOT strengths stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I won't go through the whole thing, but a lot of people were proud of the services that were provided to the residents. I think it's still very factual here. Experienced employees, dedicated employees. I'm sure that's still fact here. Fiscal responsibility. The county's always been very conservative, and it's still the case now. At that time, the new county building was 4 years old, probably, at that time, and people were very proud of that. Strong leadership in equalization, planning, and chief management, and just the fact that there was a survey done. A lot of people appreciated the spirit of teamwork. So those were the strengths in 2012. Weaknesses, internal conflicts between departments and employees, micromanagement, personnel agendas by certain board members and elected officials. Technology-based services need to be upgraded. I think they were just getting into some new software at that time. Issues with the accounting department and professional concerns about opportunities for younger employees to get their lessons. So those were the weaknesses that were perceived. opportunities that were listed was things that could be done, and actually some of these were done. 2/3 of people thought need to restructure various duties and operations. Things are always done the same year after year after year after year for many years. Thought it was changed to that. Greater cooperation between county and township and villages. I guess there was some friction at one point between some of the elected officials at township level and county commissioners. The need to upgrade technology, which obviously it's a major issue then, and will, I think, always be an issue. I thought this was interesting. Increased servicing, housing, employment options for young generation. So 2012, 2024, it still is an issue. I found it ironic. I went to a state sale this summer, picked up a Life magazine from April 1946. Big headline is housing crisis in America. Young people cannot afford to buy houses. And it was referenced World War II veterans coming back from the war. But 1946, Life magazine did a feature story about the lack of affordable housing. So it's an ongoing problem. Up to this new team approach between elected officials and board and streamline the budget process. Threats, internal staffing issues, lack of a team approach, turf wars, the local economy. We just got off the recession there in 2008, 2009, lack of opportunities for young people, resistance to change, lack of public knowledge and county programs and services. So I bring this up just because there were some comments made how I did the survey and I hid the results, and you can see it. It's not the case. It's very public. I did not release the names of people that came on, and I chose not to put any names in the report. But some of these things also surfaced in the survey that you did. And just for the record, because there's some misperception about that, I had no input in the survey that Dr. Stolten did. We both are consultants with the Michigan Leadership Institute. I've known John for 25 years. He was Lieutenant Glen Lake. I was at Buckley. He and I went almost the same time. He went to Petoskey. I went to Charlevoix. We have kept in contact. But when the survey came up, John and I made an agreement we were not going to talk about it at all. So just want to make that clear on the record. There was no input. I did not have the survey results. I found out about them the same time everybody else did. So I just want to clear that up.
Chad?
Yeah.
I got an extra pair of 1.5. I don't know if that'll get it.
Oh, I'm okay now.
All right, great.
I realize how small this was. The rest of it, I'm okay. All right. It doesn't happen when you get older. I also did the same thing, and I know John was going to do that. He asked people to, on a 1 to 10 scale, rate their feedback there. And county got an 8.2, which is very high, because I've been doing this for quite a few years. I still think that's probably the highest rating of any group that I've worked with over the years in terms of satisfaction. So 8.2 was extremely high. So that was a positive. So that's the results of 2012. I guess it's not part of governance, but I just want to clear that up, any misperception that we could have about that survey. Okay, let's talk about board governance now. Once again, this is all based on research, 25 years of research and data. And feel free to ask questions. And I'm going to pass out a little rating sheet for you. You don't have to put your name on it.
Chet, can I just make a comment? So you said you had 47 respondents?
I think 43, I think I said.
Okay, I just want to also state for the record that John Schulten's had 85 or 87. So maybe it looks a little different because of the scope of his work too.
And I said, all of that, I think all but 5 were from this building. The only thing I asked them to put is which building they were in.
Correct.
To see if there were any differences between the 2 buildings. So I'll explain this sheet to you as soon as I get it. All right. So, just so you know, this is not a government 101 presentation on the physical role of county government. I believe we had John Amline come and talk about that, or you've had workshops in the past. We used to have Peter Cole come and talk about the legal responsibility of board members. This is not a part of this. This is about the effective board governance. And really, as a board, and this is true for county board, it's true for a city commission. You really, as elected officials, have four major responsibilities. And some you should play a very active role in, and some probably less active. So one is policies. It is up to the board to set the policies. Staff can set procedures, but it's up to the board to set those policies. And the staff can set procedures to implement those policies. But staff cannot set policies. Sometimes people use that term. We have a policy in this office. We actually have a procedure. Only the board members can set policies. We do that. Two, personnel levels. As you know, you dictate through the budget the personnel level at each department. That includes elected officials. If Michelle wants to add someone to her staff, she cannot do that without getting approval from the board. Once the board approves it, it's up to her to fill the slot and so forth. But it's up to the board to set the personnel levels. And that's done every year, budget process. Finance, you as a board set the budget for each of the department as well as the elected officials' budgets. And so that's critical. And then four, long-term planning, which we'll talk about. But it's you as a board to set the direction for the county. Now you can get input from staff and so forth. Excuse me, I thought I had to turn it off. All right. It's up to you to set the long-term goals and policies for the county. Any questions about those? And I'll talk a little more about some of them. Okay, you each have a sheet there, I believe, that has things listed from A to P, right?
Q.
Or Q, okay. I didn't have a copy with me. Okay, so there's an A here, and I believe on the sheet, Michelle, give us the copies one. Save a copy. So this is just your own internal scorecard, and don't put your name on it. Slide. So just as I go through these, put a check mark or put a yes or a no next to each one if you think this board has abided by these guidelines. All right? You got that? Everyone got that? You don't have to put your name on the sheet. It's not important. So you have A through Q, so all these slides. And these are the results of the studies, the research that I've done, that the Michigan Leadership Institute has done, that I did through the University of Nebraska about effective boards. And it's not geared towards Leelanau County. It's the same, much of what you see is the same thing I've done for the city of Traverse City, for Misaki, for Cascade County. In terms of why certain boards function well and don't struggle, one is that, and I think I can say that I always felt that all of you have achieved this goal. You're here to serve the residents of Leelanau County. You certainly don't do it for the money. You think of how much time you put into it, and the grief, and the phone calls, and the emails. Really, to be effective, you all have to be here for the right reasons, and I sincerely believe that all of you are here for the right reasons. So I'm going to give you all a yes. I'm going to tell you to put a yes because I truly believe all of you are here for the right reasons, and you serve the residents of the county, and you're here to do what's best for the county. I can tell you that's not always the case with board members at different levels. It could be a school board, it could be a township board. Sometimes people come in with a hidden agenda, and that really causes challenges. But I can't think of a situation when I was here that any of the commissions I worked with were here for those reasons. I think everyone's here truly to serve the residents of Leelanau County. So I give you all a yes on that one. Okay. This one, effective board. Once again, I'm not talking about 7 of you. I'm talking about overall to be effective. You really need to focus on issues and topics. The minute you start focusing on personalities, it becomes a challenge. I spent 5 months in Northport this summer. There's no question they had some challenges with this. There were some personality challenges there. And that caused the real problems because sometimes when you can't get beyond the personality challenges, you can't focus on what the topic is. If you have an issue with one of your fellow board members, no matter what that person brings up, you may challenge that or not feel comfortable with it. So it's really critical, and it's hard to do sometimes. You focus on the issues and the topics, not the personalities involved. C, keep small issues small. It's amazing how a minor issue can escalate and also become a big issue. And I'll give you an outside perspective, because I don't know the details. You had some controversy about legal bills from the attorneys, and that became a public issue. That, in my mind, was a minor issue that became a big issue. There was a lack of trust, I think, between some of you on who got the bills and what they were for and so forth. So that is a minor issue in terms of an invoice, any invoice. And that became a major issue, which shows you that there's problems with some of the challenges that you'll see coming up too. But try to keep small issues small, because if you don't, they become big issues. Then you can't focus on the big issues. You're spending all your energy on small issues. And that's true with family members sometimes. We all have family members where sometimes a very minor issue becomes a big issue or misperception. And so my advice is keep the small issues small. If you have questions, ask them up front. Make phone calls, talk to each other. Ask the clerk, ask the administrator. Try to resolve those so they don't become large public debate issues. The active participation in meetings and provide meaningful contributions. I've been involved with boards where 3, 4 people, 5 people sometimes dominate the meeting, where people are afraid to express their views, and that becomes a problem because then once again it becomes personal and it's tough to go forward. It's good that all of you have different views and opinions. You all should respect that and move forward. I'll give you 2 examples I think it worked well in the county. One was my first year on the board between Melinda and David Marshall. And if you remember David Marshall, he was on the board here from your district, Lynn. And Melinda and David probably were on the opposite end politically on a lot of issues. But I really enjoyed the dialogue between the 2 of them. We'd get on some heavy discussions, and it was only my 1 year that David was on the board. But Melinda would make some points, and David would sit back in his chair, kind of scratch his head and say, Melinda, help me understand why you're saying this in a very positive way. And then you could
And
go
he'd
back
say, I
and
get
forth.
that. Healthy
And then-
debate.
Yeah.
It was healthy debate.
And then I remember one time, Dave was going on something, and you just looked at him and kind of said, David, 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 and here you go again. You know, and he laughed. But they had some very deep differences on views and opinions. But I saw them a couple times, they would leave the meeting, they'd go on the parking lot, they'd be laughing together. And it's a good example where 2 people with completely different political views work together very well. And you had some tough discussions on topics. Another example is between Ty Russell and Will Buddick. You had a lot of differences. You stated them publicly, but I think you 2 always tried to maintain that friendship. I know you called him, he called you, and he always told me how much respect he had for you, and vice versa. So you 2 had a lot of public disagreements, but you still got through that and you worked the best that you could. And you agreed, sometimes disagreed, but you still went forward. Probably one of the best boards I had was in Charlevoix, my first year there as superintendent. We had to make major budget cuts. We had to cut over $1 million in budgets, which is all people. And we had rooms packed with people. And we had a lot of long meetings, a lot of 4-3 votes, but there was a deep respect there between all 7 board members. They could argue about stuff. I'll use the word argue. Debate items. But once the vote was taken, they understood, okay, we're going to go forward and work this. They knew these things had to happen, it's just how it happened. So even though there were long meetings, even a lot of 4-3 votes, a lot of things got done. That only because there was trust and respect, and all 7 board members who were actually involved in the process. I've seen boards where 4 or 5 people do all the talking, other ones are silent, and that causes challenges. The year before I came to Buckley as the superintendent, there was some behind-the-scenes discussion on a topic that 3 board members did not know about. During the board meeting, 3 board members got up and walked out of the meeting. They were so fed up, said, we're not taking this anymore, and literally walked out of the meeting.
So Chet, I'm not walking out because I'm upset.
Okay.
I'm going to go get lunch.
Okay. So it's critical all 7 of you actually participate in meetings.
Oh, can I add something?
Yeah,
Jen,
yeah,
real
go
quick?
ahead.
I'm just gonna, I've really appreciated, I think Doug and Rookie, I mean, I appreciate all of you, and even Melinda at times, like, we have that, there's been that dialogue where you voted a certain way, and then it's been opposite, in opposition of the way that I voted, and explaining why you voted that way. That's been really refreshing and really nice, and I just kind of want to give you guys an attaboy.
Yeah.
Or girl.
Back at you.
And also, as all of you know, you get a lot of information, some of it is very confidential, and it's critical that you keep it confidential. I'm not sure that's a problem or not, but I can tell you I had one incident, I won't mention where a board member got information, was at a girls' softball game, talking to people about it. The person sitting behind them was a niece of the people they were talking about, went back, called the aunt and said this was being discussed, it was supposed to be private, it ended up in a lawsuit. And it cost that board quite a bit of money, because confidential information was shared of all places in a softball game. So you all get a lot of information, it's critical that you keep it confidential.
Chad, there's a thin line between keeping things confidential and hiding
Yes.
things from the public, and that
No,
is
I'm talking about when you get some data, some information, you get confidential reports from attorneys.
Yes,
I had one situation where we had a board member, everything we talked about in closed session was out in the public the next day.
It's a learned behavior, okay? I mean,
But, you know, obviously everything that you do, a lot of it is public information, but there are documents related to personnel staff, to confidential information.
eventually it will come to public.
Yes.
Yes.
But the timing is critical.
Right, okay.
This is critical. It doesn't matter if you're a superintendent, a city manager, village council member. You need to have a strong relationship between yourself and your administrator, whoever that person is, school superintendent, whatever. It's critical that it has to be trust going both ways between all of you and your chief officer, because your chief officer is responsible for implementing everything that you do. As a board, you should have one employee, and that's your administrator. As a school board.
That's right.
As a school board, they have one employee, that's the superintendent. You'll get calls from people wanting you to get involved, I'll talk about that later, but really, you have to have an interdependent relationship with you and your top administrator. When I was school superintendent, there's a line, it's true that no superintendent ever lost a job over academics. There's a lack of trust and respect or confidence between the board and the superintendent. And Todd can probably tell you many stories about fellow superintendents that we work with. And sometimes it's just, there's a lack of trust or a lack of respect, there's not honesty going forward, and that causes major challenges. And if you don't have that relationship, issues will surface, and small issues become big issues, and they're not resolved.
But Chet, two other things superintendents do that get them in trouble, and that is do away with busing or have a losing football team.
Yes. And really, sports have a huge impact. We could go on and on telling about the impact sports has on the superintendent of the school district, and financing and everything else that goes with it. All right, this is critical. All of you have to feel like you have equal access to information. I can tell you that's not a secret to those enterprise. This was an issue in Northport with the council members. And I actually did a SWOT survey day in Northport when I came out last spring. Several of the council members felt they were not getting the information, that only certain people got information. They would come to meetings, and only certain people had some documents, some of the data, some of the history and so forth, which once again leads to lack of trust, lack of respect, lots of issues. So it's critical that all 7 of you have access to the same information. Okay. It's also critical that all 7 of you, once again, this is general, it's not towards Leelanau County, all of you have equal access to your chief administrator, whether it's the city council, school board, everyone has to feel comfortable going through the administrator. I had a great board member in Charlotte, but he was on the school board for 25 years. If he would get a call from a parent or even from a staff member and so forth, his first comment was, well, thank you very much, but have you talked to the superintendent about this issue? And 90% of the time the answer was no. And he would say, well, okay, we'll talk to them first. If it's not resolved, come back and see me. That kind of ends the around the scenes thing, which causes issues, which you'll hear about more about that. But it's critical that all 7 of you feel that you have equal access to your chief administrator. And that's true, like I said, city, village, township, school board. And it has to be vice versa. The administrator has to feel very comfortable working with the clerk office, too. And the reality is, especially in the way Michigan government is structured, the clerk is a very powerful position. Would you agree, Michelle?
Yep.
Yep, and it's critical that the clerk and administrator have to work together well. When it doesn't work well, there's issues. Once again, I'm talking about general. I give you examples throughout the state where this has been a major issue. It's critical that between the clerk and administrator, they have a lot of authority about what goes on the board agenda, information that commissioners have, and there has to be a very close working relationship between the clerk and the administrator going forward. All right, let's see. Did I skip one? Did I go from Jay?
Yeah, Jay.
Yeah, Jay.
Okay. Strong and durable links to the community, I think all of you have that. Obviously, the community has to trust and respect you, and I think they did because they elected you. But if they feel that they don't have a voice or cannot contact you and cannot express their views, that causes issues. So, and all of you need to know what's going on in your communities. And I think that you do. It's not, I don't think, an issue here. But it's true that you need to be listening to your people that live in your district and to the people in rural county. You need to be, they need to feel like they can contact you, either call you or email you, and that you'll get back with them. There's nothing frustrating if you call your elected officials and they don't get back with you. And that has been a challenge in some spots. I won't mention what county I worked with recently, but one of them, point blank, the concern was they don't respond to phone calls or emails. And that brought up the board meetings. People started talking about, we called you, we don't know. If people don't know, a lot of times they make false assumption. You know what happens when you assume things? But the frustration was this commissioner was just not responding to people in his district, and they were very upset over it. That boiled over to the board meeting. So I don't think it's an issue here, but you truly all have to be really strong in your views and opinions and listen to what people in your district are saying.
On our way.
What's another way to describe this? This is a kind way of saying no.
Don't micromanage.
Very good.
Stay in your lane.
Yes. I tell you, everywhere I've done this, all the research, the minute board members get involved in day-to-day operations, there's going to be challenges. And once again, I'll use Northport because it's public and in Kalkaska too. The staff feels frustrated because they would go to different board members and get different answers, or board members would come in and tell them what to do. And sometimes 2 different board members came in and told them different things to do. And they said, we don't know what's going on here. And so that was very frustrating for them. But it's critical that your job is to focus on the 4 things that we talked about, not the day-to-day operations. If you have a concern, obviously you can express that, but go through the proper channel, go through the administrator, go through your elected, or to your top official. Don't go directly to the staff people. It puts them in a very awkward position, especially if they're the office type people and a commissioner election. They can be very intimidated by that. And even if you make some small comment, sometimes that's, people misunderstand that and say, well, they want me to do this. But really, outside of board meetings, you are one of 7, and you really don't have the authority to go in the office and tell them how to operate. So it's very critical. But the minute you have micromanagement around, you're going to have problems. And that's true across the board, every unit of government. Okay, this is a 2-parter. There's a direct link between the number of special meetings and committees and how effective an organization is. And that's true, school board, county board, township board. And, things are a little fast. The study shows, and it's across the board, the more special meetings, the more committees you have, the less effective the organization is.
Got that right.
You have a lot of meetings, because you're doing a lot of major issues. But if you look across the board, the more meetings, the less effective. There's a chart, I didn't put in it, but actually has a chart, goes on national research, that shows you more meetings, less effectiveness.
That's correct.
Yeah. You have to trust that you have staff that's following through. If they don't, then you need to talk to your chief administrator to make sure why. Because your job is to focus on the policy and the big picture, not the day-to-day operations.
I just feel like there's a huge correlation between that one and the micromanagement one.
Yeah,
Because it's really just
fine.
saying the same
Yep.
thing, just in a different way.
Yeah, they are linked, yes, yes.
Yeah.
If you look at a lot of these, you can use the same example, they're linked. It's all about the same thing.
And can I mention something? I feel like that's also, like, when you do that, or, this, it also takes away the individual employees' feeling of autonomy and their place in their
And
position.
department heads.
Yeah, and department.
I mean,
heads,
you're
yeah.
fortunate here that you have a lot of very good department heads. Let them do the job. If you have an issue with that, go to your administrator. If you still have issues, then yes, bring them to the board, but there's a chain of command, there's a process. And most times, if you have issues or concerns, those can be resolved internally before it becomes a board level decision, or you hope it does.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then obviously you need to get involved. But let the process follow through first. Let them try to resolve whatever issues they are. And if you hear things from the community, let those people know, not that you're micromanaged, but if you have an issue that you heard about something, call and let the administrator know, because a lot of times they may not know about it. A lot of times people call you thinking that it's going to be passed on, something done about it. But if people don't know about it, they might not even know how to respond.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways, but if you hear things or concerns, be honest about it, but do it in a private, civil, professional manner.
I'd just like to say too, though, I think the complexity of our role, serving on several other committees and being the liaison on that committee back to the board, makes it difficult to know where your role starts and ends. I feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place a lot of times if I'm too aggressive or showing too much leadership, but yet why am I on that committee? You know what I mean? So I think it's a huge learning curve, and I don't know who's supposed to be teaching us how we interact with the community on those committees or how we bring it back to the board. So just that kind of meat that I don't feel like I've ever been.
Well, I think all of you would agree this has been a challenging past year for everyone here, the last couple of years. And obviously, if you look at it, you've got a lot of special meetings, a lot of new committees being formed. So right there, that kind of reinforces this theory. The question is, how do you go forward and how do you resolve it?
And that's why I've never liked the finance and personnel committees, because I feel like, I know there was a finance meeting this morning and I could not go to it, but I was very aware there were things I should have heard.
Well, that goes back to another one. They are linked about all 7 commissioners having the same information.
Yes, yes.
Because the minute you start doing that, I'm not saying, I don't want to talk about Leelanau County, but this is overall, but obviously I know what's going on here, it's been a paper that, you've got a tough year, you have a lot of committee meetings, and some of you have felt that you do not have the same information as everybody else. which leads to a lot of other issues. It goes back to the trust. It goes back on focusing on personalities, not on the people. I mean, it's all is linked. It's one big spider web.
So in your opinion, is the Personnel and Finance Committees justified, and is there any other counties that have it?
I would say, well, they have committees, but what's their responsibility? I do not know another county that has anyone but the administrator report to the board. You should not be involved in personnel decisions. You have a person that should have the responsibility for that.
Well, I think we're trying to change that around,
Wasn't
that,
that on our
it
list,
was
though?
kind of like free run, let us do what we want to do, and then now I believe our function is, if the board directs us to look into this.
Yeah, and like I said, I
that's-
don't, but in general, it's not a good system that you.
it's
And
just
I think
like,
all of you would agree.
just like Gwen said today, I had a veteran thing this morning, and I wasn't allowed to be here, and it kind of upset me. I come in here and say, well, what did they talk about that I got to catch up on? Okay, so I personally, I would get rid of both boards.
In the same breath, though, you said one of our 4 major areas is personnel levels. So it's very unclear.
Once you set the
Exactly.
level,
Staffing levels.
Once you set the staffing levels in terms of how they operate, or how people operate in the clerk's office or equalization office, if you have an issue, go to that director or go to the administrator and resolve it. It goes back to you having a deep trust with your administrator.
Right.
To get the job done. I'll give you an example where this committee thing went way out of line. This was when we had the Commission on Aging Committee.
Yeah.
Commission, they call themselves.
Yep.
They actually thought they had the authority because no one ever checked them. One time in the newspaper, the commissioners read that it used to be called Commission on Aging. We switched for a reason, which I could go on and on, but the commissioners actually read in the paper that Leelanau County made a commitment for $40,000 for Meals on Wheels, and additional $40,000 that none of the commissioners knew about.
Yeah, and to clarify, is one thing, and you might have,
Because there was a group of people that were not talking, they were not communicating with the commissioners. They had their own meeting and told the director of Meals on Wheels that they were going to get $40,000, actually signed off on a piece of paper with no authority.
It's a communications thing, obviously.
Yeah.
well, because there's that confusion that, well, what our budget is set, this is our budget, but really failed to read the budget rules, and, which go
There is
hand
checks
in
and
hand.
balances, as you know.
Absolutely. But
You do set the budget, but every invoice that comes in over X dollars, you still have to approve it. You review it, and you do have options to say no. So there's that checks and balances in place.
and
So,
unless maybe
I
you're
also-
getting to it, but the other, what might have been a 5th category would have been the unions, because we set staffing levels, and then our employees are represented by unions. So I think that's been, for the most part, forgotten this year, because we haven't been in, having a couple little negotiations, but just
You set
issues.
the staff levels within the scope of the union contracts that are in effect.
I just also feel, though, if we are ultimately responsible to have staffing levels underneath we need to know about the staff. I mean, so it's
It's a fine line.
It is a very fine
It's
line.
one about
so-
knowing staff, it's another thing to dictate how they operate.
Totally, but to be a
Or be
part
dictated
of
to.
what's the current and what's the need and what's lacking and,
These are not yes or no black and white answers.
no, they're not.
We talked about, did not discuss personal issues with the community outside of official meetings. Like I said, you get a lot of information. You have to respect there's a process in place. There's a chain of command. There are issues that maybe are being dealt with. We had one, it's not here, I'll make this clear, but at an adjacent school district I worked with, there was an employee that was going through cancer therapy. And part of the information, part of the drug he was taking, gave the impression that he had alcohol problem. That got out, board member was telling people in the community that this person was an alcoholic coming to work drunk. That spread out through the community. It devastated him and his family. He was going to cancer therapy. He didn't want people to know about it. The medicine he was taking gave him, must have been a liquid stuff, gave the impression that he was an alcoholic drunk. And it was just awful. He ended up passing away. It was a very sad thing. There's all these rumors about so-and-so's coming to work drunk. And just the opposite. Person wanted to continue working. It was good for that person to continue working. The rumors got so bad in the community, he actually resigned. Never told people he was going through cancer therapy until after he passed away. That's an extreme example, but it's where misinformation got out there from a couple board members. Okay, also, don't talk to employees about big issues. There is a chain of command.
You have an N on your sheet?
And it's very difficult.
Do you have an N on your sheet?
Is there an N?
I don't have an N on my sheet.
We don't have any.
It was a test to see if you're paying attention.
Yeah,
Very good, Doug. You passed the test.
that's why you thought it ended at P.
You get an extra punch key for that.
Oh, it's just what I do not need, but thank
You know,
you.
but once again, it's respect. You have issues, go through the proper chain of command, don't go directly to the employees. And vice versa, employees should not be coming to you with internal problems. If they do, tell them, well, thank you. Maybe talk to your director, maybe talk to your administrator first. Then obviously, if they say yes and have resolved, then you have a right to be involved, but go through the process first.
Can I expand a little about that? Because I have a lot of mentors, but one of them I've recently been talking to, and she's the head of a very large organization, and she said that there's got to be kind of some buffer, and I think that's where we as a board have kind of gone astray. We've been really just trying, and I think it's for altruistic reasons, like people want to know what's happening, on the ground and everything, but once you kind of get into that territory, it's sticky.
You have professional people working here, and you have department heads, and you have an administrator, and they're hired to do a job. Your job is to look at the big picture, those 4 major areas. And then you stray from that, you're going to have problems. It all goes back to trust, respect, working as a team, knowing the boundaries, and it's a tough thing to do sometimes. But it's critical, once again, to be a people-calling board that you follow the process. Okay, it's almost pizza time. Especially when you have a new person coming on. Once again, this is based on research, and it's the exact same thing I told the city commission, because they have a brand new manager, Deb Pascal, Masaki. When someone comes on, and this is a two-way process, spend the time. It's not comfortable, but at least 6 months. Evaluate your new administrator every 6 months for the first 2 years, and then once a year after that. It's critical because every board has their own culture, and sometimes the administrator does not know what you want as a board. And I'll give you a prime example. When I came here, and I think Melinda's the only one who probably remembers this, but I came from a culture in Charlton Lake Schools where the board expected me to make a recommendation on every single topic. Because that's the way it was structured, that's the way most school boards are. So I spent a lot of time when I was a school superintendent doing the research and making a recommendation in writing what the recommendation was on every single topic. I came here, I started doing that because no one told me not to. So I spent the first 6 months, 9 months doing that. And finally, during my 6-month evaluation, I said, this is great, but we don't want your opinion. We want the facts, let us decide. It does sometimes cause conflict if the administrator publicly makes a recommendation, the board says no, it could cause friction and so forth. I said, well, I wish you had told me that in the beginning, that would save me a lot of time. And from then I try to be, just give them the facts, You have to make the final decision, it's your choice. The administrator has to follow up on that decision making, whatever the vote is. So it puts him or her in an awkward position if they recommend one thing publicly and the board goes another way, and that person has to follow up. Public knows, well, he's not he or she's not supporting this. So to this day, I just ran into Nate Elder from Grand Traverse County, and he pointed out that one of the best advice he got when he became the county administrator there is from a wise man in the next county next door, not to make recommendations, just give them that. So thank you, Nate. It's true, it does put them in an awkward situation. So I just did this with Missaukee County, and I asked them point blank, because they're the new administrator now, what do you want? Do you want them to make recommendations? Do you want just the facts? What do you want? It's good for those people to know up front what your expectations are. And it's true, and when I say evaluation, it has to be a two-way process. Hopefully, and once again, this is not in Leelanau County, but everywhere, it's time for the administrator to view their opinions after 3 months, after 6 months. What in Kalkaska we're going to do is a 3-month, very informal dialogue, and this person has been there 3 months, a more evaluation 6 months, and after 1 year, formal. But it's to help that person too, because board members change, staff changes, the administrator, whether it's your city manager, or county administrator, or school superintendent, needs to know what the expectations are. In Wexford County, they went through 5 administrators in my 11 years here. And the last one that I knew quite well, I had lunch with her. She was only there about a year. I said, well, how are things going? And she pulled out a piece of paper from her pocket and says, here's my resignation letter. And I thought she was joking. She goes, no, this is not at all what I expected, for a lot of reasons. And she goes, I came in, this is what I told them what I was going to do. They said fine, and they're doing the exact opposite. And she said, if I would know this, it would have done things differently, and I might have done things differently, but they never told me. And it got to the point where she submitted her letter on a Tuesday and said her last day was Friday. Walked out after 15 months there, which is not good for any side. So you need to have open dialogue with your chief officer.
I think sometimes, Chad, it's hard to evaluate someone if you haven't had the experience working under somebody. I mean, when I was with the state police, they would mail us to fill out our evaluation administrator.
And especially with Ford being brand new, it's a daunting.
That's-
It takes, as you know, a year just to feel comfortable with the day-to-day responsibilities, much less with things like this. And what some units of government have done, and I actually encouraged this when I was in Charlotte, we brought in a third party to do the evaluation. We brought in Dr. Mike Washburn, and I was glad they brought in a third party, a retired superintendent, that did the evaluations, not just for me, but he did it in the region, if school boards wanted him. It was a service that they provided. But it was sometimes good to get a third party in there to talk, who knows the process, who knows how to do it.
Right.
You have dialogue with it. Sometimes people are more comfortable talking to a third party. Now, obviously, once you do that, it has to be shared and becomes public information. And sometimes it's good to have a third party look at it and ask the right questions.
Okay.
All right. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with 4-3 votes. You don't have to be 7-0 on everything to be highly functioning. Some of the best boards I had were split on things. But once a decision is made, you need to abide by that and move on and go forward. Because if you bring over and over, it's just physically, mentally, and emotionally draining on everybody to rehash things over and over and over again. Once a vote is taken, it also puts that administrator or that department head in a very awkward position, because if a motion passes 4-3 or 5-2, it's their job to implement whatever we pass. But if it's still being brought up, it causes doubt on how to proceed. It makes it difficult to go forward. So once a decision is made, the majority passes it, we divide and move on. We'll talk about this a little more after the pizza break here. This is the effective ongoing planning and management process. And I'll talk more about planning coming on. But you really need to know where you want to go. If not, you'll be struggling constantly, and we'll talk more about it. But this may be a good time to break for pizza, right? All right, so don't put your name on the sheets, but if you just give them to me, I'll just do a quick tally to see where you are in terms of how you feel about this board.
Oh,
Don't
that's
put
not
your name
gonna
on it,
work.
because I don't want to know. If you want, you can have it back, but just want to see if you're in agreement of where you.
Could we reconvene at 12:30?
You can have your sheets back, I'll just quickly do an analysis.
Well,
How will you know? We can
my,
back
Oh, in here.
It's kind of the perfect song for right now. Aww.
my letters are wrong
Okay. well-
because of the,
Toronto, get into Chicago.
Are we recessed?
We're back.
Yep.
That was the longest 14 minutes we've had in quite some time. Thanks for your patience waiting for us. We're back. Thank you,
All right,
Chet.
So I did an informal result of your sheets. I put them back there if you like your notes back, kind of like you made notes. So really, I had 17 slides, including N, which I skipped here for some strange reason. So the scores range, in terms of yes, one commissioner had only 3 yeses. On the other side of the spectrum, one commissioner had 17 yeses. So broad spectrum, but if I did that average of the 17, it was 8.25 was your average, so about half. So overall, you as a commission agree that you followed about half of the suggested guidelines here for functional boards. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Next part is a little more abstract. I'm trying to go through it quickly because I know it's beautiful out there. And Michelle told me I had to be done by, was it 4:30? Michelle?
Lights go out at 5.
Okay. So the first part was about boards in general. This is about leadership traits that hopefully all of you and your administrator has and how to go forward and why people are successful in these jobs and in these tough positions. So we did a thing on the top 10 leadership traits. And I like to find different quotes and everything. And a lot of this I shared with you when it is in December 2022, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. So I talked about planning too, but.
Hey,
leadership
Chet,
traits.
Chet, this is going to be available to us, this presentation?
Oh, yeah,
It's posted on
Deb
the
and Michelle have
website.
it.
Okay, right.
You're welcome.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, they both have it.
All right, thank you.
And one thing is, like I said, it goes back, you're doing this because you truly want to help the process. None of you are doing this for the glory, for the financial gain, for the meetings. I'm sure you all have better things to do than sit here in meetings all the time, get phone calls, get nasty emails, get criticized publicly. You're doing it because truly have a calling. You look at anyone that's successful in life, they really have to have a calling for what they're doing. They can't do it just because of a job. So I won't read these quotes. You have them or you will have them. But I think this is true for all of you, that you truly are doing it for the right reasons. And if you don't do it for the right reasons, people know right away. It's very evident. So 2, you have to have a strong belief system, and this is from Tim Quinn, who's a great mentor for me. I could go on and on about Dr. Quinn. Ty knows him, I believe, you've seen his presentations. So this is true when he was at the college. And this is true. You truly have to believe in what your values are and your systems. The minute you start wavering, the minute you give different answers to different people, people lose respect for you and the trust factor, and presume they won't follow you. So you really have to believe in what you say, you have to be honest, you have to have strong faith in your convictions. So I'll go through these really quick. Dedicate masters to yourself. You have to take care of yourself, physically, socially, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. And it's a quote from Gandhi here. You have a problem in one area of your life, it does impact other areas of life here too. And so you really have to focus on yourself. You truly have to focus on your health, your social, mental, emotional health, how to go forward. It's interesting, I did this retreat with the city commission just 2 weeks ago, and they have a new manager, and we did some goal setting. It's interesting, all of them, one of their top focus for her is, okay, you're new, you're taking a big job, a lot of responsibilities. We want you to focus on your spiritual, mental, and physical health. Take time off. Don't respond emails till 2 o'clock in the evening. Take the time off. Go out for, one person told them, go for a walk every day. Get out of the building. Go for a walk. Take time off. Take a Friday afternoon off. We know you're working hard. Don't let this job consume you. Find balance in your life. I think that's true for everybody.
It's hard.
That's my Sunday emails from Michelle.
Yeah, there you go.
Dedicated, what can I
Okay,
say?
so I won't mention the name. but
From the courthouse.
I get a call one winter morning on a Saturday at 10 a.m. from someone who's working from a pool in Disney. And this person has some questions about an upcoming meeting we're gonna have in 2 weeks.
I can see that.
I won't mention any names, but I have some choice words for this person. On a Saturday morning at Disney by a pool, you're worried about me that's coming up in 2 weeks?
Look
You're not
up the
on vacation.
definition of
Yeah,
vacation.
I won't mention any names.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, at least she was at Disney.
Or, you have to be a dedicated service for others. Some good quotes there. And really, a prime example was Dr. Quinn. He had a unique ability to roll up his sleeves. He came from a very humble background. He was not afraid to do any task, any effort that needed to be done. And I think people respected him for that. I'm talking in general terms. If they feel like you're part of a team, you're not above them, but you're with them. You're trying to do what's best, and no matter what small task there is, if you're all part of the team, people respect that, and you can get great things accomplished going forward. The biggest thing I can, example I give you is the University Center that's in Traverse City now, very successful, 4-year degrees. That was his vision. I was part of his team. We spent 3 years working on that. He went to every township meeting. He went to the Cedar Bar, the Cedar Chamber of Commerce, talked about it. He went everywhere. And people really respected that he took out of his schedule to come to the Cedar Chamber of Commerce to talk about his vision and so forth. And he was not afraid to be there, to work on efforts, to really explain it to everyone who was interested. But if people perceive that your leader is above doing those kind of stuff, or if all of you would feel, well, that's above me, people know that.
Mhm.
Focused, careless, and enthusiastic. You know, the main thing is the main thing. Goes back to what I talked about, don't let the small things become the big things. You know, focus on what the main goal is. And especially the bottom part, every leader has the capacity to shed either their light or their darkness. And it depends. If you're negative, that's gonna flow through the system. If you're positive, people respect that. People are open to taking on challenges and major issues as long as there's trust and respect, and I'll show you an example of that coming up. They assume the role of advocate and collaborator. Better than 1,000 days of diligent study is one day with a great leader.
Great teacher.
They are politically astute. I like this quote. Being a leader is like arresting a gorilla. You don't stop when you get tired, you stop when the gorilla gets tired. You know, because you take on a lot of issues, you get a lot of criticism for some of your decisions that you make. You have to go forward, but you do know when to fight and when you realize that you're not going to be successful and then become part of the team to solve whatever the issue is. Conflict is no, but combat is optional. And I go back to between Ty, Will Buddick, or Melinda, and David Marshall. They had a lot of different opinions, but I never saw a combat breakout. They had conflicts, but they resolved them in a professional manner, or agree to disagree and just move forward. The strong courage to lead deep. I guess the best way I can describe this is, can you look yourself in the mirror every night and say that you're honest with yourself and you follow through on it? If the answer is yes, then you're on the right path. People may not agree with you or anything, but they will respect you as long as you're honest and trustworthy. And that's the same thing. Trust is the glue that makes all things possible. And that's true. And without trust, you can have the most intelligent people, but there's not trust, it's just not going to work. And this is so critical. It goes back to what I talked about. It's critical that the commissioners and the administrator function best when they work as a team. And that's true in the school district, true in the village, in the city, in the township. There has to be a strong team approach to make it work. And this is actually a chart I found from the Navy SEALs. And I also found it at West Point. When you look at people that are Navy SEALs, they're all very competent. When you look at all the students at West Point, they're very confident they wouldn't be there. But if there's no trust, nothing gets done. You can be the most competent person out there, but if people don't trust you, nothing gets done. When things really happen, when there's confidence, and there has to be trust there. And like I said, this is from the Navy SEALs, and I also found it at West Point when they bring in their cadets and do reviews. They focus on trust, how important trust is. If you're building a team, if you're going to battle, there has to be trust there. They're all those people that are SEALs, that are West Point, have the skills. It's whether people trust them that makes a difference. And why certain people become leaders and other people fail. It's a trust factor. Okay, let's move on here to planning. I think you have to have a path that you want to be on. I think one of the challenges, I think you all would agree, the struggles with the finance department is the way it was done without a plan in place. And there really needs to be a plan. I'll give you some quotes here, and then we'll do a little exercise. Oops, went too far. This pops some quotes from Alice in Wonderland. You remember this book? Alice was at a crossing road, this little train to go ask the cat for advice. And the cat says, well, if you don't know where you want to go, then it doesn't matter which path you take.
Yeah.
And that's kind of true. You have to have a vision on where you want to go. Some other quotes on planning here. Whoops. Wrong way. Three different views from different sources in the Bible. Failing to plan is planning to fail. Where there is no vision, people perish. Make no small plans. These are, some are pretty humorous, I think. Especially like the one, number two is pretty factual. And where a lot of companies get themselves in trouble, they just do things the same way year after year after year. That's the way it's always been done. And so you always have to look in the future. And as a board, your job is to set the plan and the goals and the objectives, and it's up to staff to implement them. And, because you're right, we all have to be concerned about the future because that's where we're spending the rest of our lives. So let's talk about that. I'm going to give you, take 3 cards.
Oh, boy.
Go ahead, put your name on it. I know this is hard for you.
Rook is he's afraid he's gonna fail.
No, he's not going to fail. There's no right or wrong answer.
There's no test, no multiple guess?
No.
Yes.
You can't share this at Ron's restaurant.
Okay.
I have ChatGPT, it'll be fine.
She brought
The
notes.
ones we had left over here, so everybody's got more.
Jamie studied all night.
You have 3?
I do,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
No, I was just gonna straight up use artificial intelligence.
3, recycled.
Do the dishes?
Well,
That's
Oh,
all
yeah.
right.
I think all of you agree it's been a challenging year, couple of
Just
years.
call me.
But at some point, you just have to go forward. It's like the dark night theory. I think you're at the end of darkness, you go forward. So come up with 3 suggestions, ideas, whatever you want to call them, how you'd like to see this board move forward. And it could be as a board, it could be as a county, it could be what you like to see from departments. 3 things going forward. You've been in the darkness for a long time. You struggled. It's time to go forward. You're almost at the point where the sun is starting to come up. What are you going to do when the sun comes up? How are you going to go forward? So come up with some ideas here.
On separate, one idea per car?
Yeah, yeah, don't put your name on it. It kind of should. I believe the clerk does. You can help me with this after getting this point. I have trouble.
Okay.
If she's doing
I'm
minutes,
doing
I can help
minutes.
out.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
I won't participate because it's.
Deb writes nicely.
Why'd you look at me when you said that?
Oh, someone's feeling a little guilty.
But they want to read it.
A little self-conscious there for Commissioner?
I don't know.
Don't worry about the spelling, you can use abbreviations.
Say it.
Thank you for the pizza.
What else?
Where's it from? I see Mark walking the dog, I didn't see you out there. Yeah, it feels it.
Deb, you'll be able to stick them on the wall if you want, it's that
Yeah.
sticky.
Well, we'll do this. If you like them, then we'll stick them on. You can say goals, objectives. whatever.
Goals for a better future.
Goals for better future.
It's only 1 o'clock, we're on schedule. Even with the pizza break.
Time's a popcorn break.
Pizza, punch cheese and popcorn.
I know, perfect.
If you're done, raise your hand, I'll come and pick them up if you start. Even if you have a couple down, you want to be one or two, just to help speed up the process. Do you have any down, any cards?
I got a couple.
Okay, just keep up. Are you done with these?
You put them on all three cards.
I don't want more.
Get a time next year.
Okay.
And we'll try to condense them here.
Sure.
Why not on my
I'll be wrong.
I think right now we don't have a meeting scheduled next week, right, or do we?
Tuesday.
Oh, yes, so that's the executive. Well, yeah, so other than that, no.
Think about how much bigger they are than us.
Ah, yes.
No, they have the same issues.
Chet's gonna
Well,
come visit.
They have the
For
same
Myers.
issues. No.
Is it, when are you in Fort Myers?
I bet you we get just as
Right
much
after
time
the
hourly.
board meeting in February.
After this last year, yeah.
First, I'll be down there some of that time.
Shouldn't have happened.
And we have.
So you're leaving like the,
22nd?
No, I
Yeah.
think we.
Yep.
we have a lot. I've worked
Driving,
there.
flying.
Flying.
No,
Okay.
I think we do just
We
as much as.
will
we're
get
gonna
there.
before the meetings.
on the 22nd,
Oh, that's what I wanted.
just for a couple of
That's
days.
what I'm saying.
That's right.
We've got a
You know, it's
place
just,
in downtown Fort Myers on
No,
the
I-
river for
I'm
3
just-
days and then on the beach for.
I ain't gonna be here.
Okay.
You are gonna
Fort
be
Myers
for the
Beach?
next 11
Yeah.
months,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
We haven't been there since the storm,
Yes,
so we're a
there's
little
no
worried
question
about
at all.
It's
And if something
it's
happens,
gonna be
maybe
a
I'll
shot.
break my leg and get a wheelchair, then I might be here for another 4 years, but,
The devastation is,
You can't get out the door.
Last year, that's.
or leave.
yeah. It's unfortunate.
We'll get them a bed.
Or leave.
I've got my 50 years in.
But I always like the kind of mom and pop.
Yeah.
You know, the little
50 years
places,
in
and
government service.
so many of those get wiped
Cornhole
out.
last year.
But I'll tell you, we were there just for a few days in November, so like, I don't know if you ever.
It's time to live, sir.
Moms,
Smoked dope with my Harley out there.
biscuits and stuff.
No.
If I can give you only one piece of advice.
Hi, Grandma. How you doing?
He's gonna have
The place is wiped out because
I burned one, huh?
Tis legal now.
And I understand there's quite a bit of food truck activity.
Well,
there are
yeah,
more
several
weed
like,
shops than
several of the
Starbucks
restaurants
I've
are
ever
running
seen.
out of food trucks. The night, I think,
That you
Start now.
No, well,
you
and
know, not that
it's
you ever went.
also they make
You know, places like
money
the
for the,
Whale,
like, what is
Leaky
it?
Tiki,
We brought in what,
and
50 grand or
those
something?
places are gone. You know, the Cottage Bar.
That mermaid on the cup.
So we're.
No, New York, that was always like the thing, there was literally a Starbucks on every corner.
No, you.
And then in LA,
Yeah.
it's a Scientology building.
VRBO type thing.
You ever,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a condo.
Yeah.
you ever have espresso coffee?
Yeah, nothing on
Me?
the ground floor.
Oh, no, it's too little beverage,
Oh, no, no,
like
it
why?
is. I live in South
I'm
America.
about
Once you
12
get
months
addicted
after
to
it
it,
happened.
Oh,
and it
my.
was looked like a
Where-
it was
where?
still, there were still windrows.
Oh.
They had
It's made
plowed
by
sand
steam.
on the street. When we were there
The
in,
best espresso I've ever had was in Italy.
November for a
Oh,
couple of
it's same,
days.
it's the same thing.
And most
Oh,
of it
my
was
word.
cleaned up.
You take a little sip
But
and
it was still just, it's almost.
Actually, my Italian friends were
We
telling
stopped, we
me
used to
that
stay at Diamond
they
Head,
just got their
which
first
is
Starbucks
a
in
condo
Rome.
resort up close
And I was
to
like,
town.
what? How can you
And,
have a Starbucks in
they
Rome? You
they
guys
were
have
open.
like, you created
And they
it.
just
Yeah,
opened
why
green
would they
shops.
bring
They've been
Espresso,
open
well, Americano.
about 12 months, but
Cappuccino is
Yeah.
nothing but espresso and.
we stopped in and had a
milk, and they
cocktail
put it
and,
in a
just.
steamer right in
Yeah.
South America.
In
That's
fact,
what
the
they
only
do.
reason we were going.
That in,
That's days, it's years, I feel an obligation to try and help.
uh,
them. You know,
Puerto
vacation
Rico,
there, and
they had a really good,
They don't
pretty
survive
sweet,
if we don't show up.
like coffee, I forget what it's called, but it's so good. I think they put like, the milk sweetener, you know, that sweet condensed milk, like
You
the,
know, it's still ain't a
oh,
guarantee
you know what I'm
there,
talking about?
but it's-
Cafe,
Evaporated or?
like con leche, I think it is. or
Like
we've had it.
milk and what's the first word?
Cafe,
We've been going
coffee,
35
coffee
years.
with milk.
Coffee.
Yeah, but
And
it's
in
that
South America,
And a lot of times we take.
sweet.
our kids
You
with
know what
us
I'm talking
to
about,
South
that milk? Do they have that down there?
And now
Where
it's
in
obvious.
South America were you?
I was
I don't know
in
why they care, 'cause we're
Uruguay,
paying for it. It's
Argentina,
a lot cheaper.
Colombia.
Panhandle.
Where's the-
Panama?
It's a lot
where's
cheaper,
the
but you might
prettiest?
have
Panama?
your vacation be 50
No, I
bucks.
agree.
It's not why you go there.
The prettiest is, probably Montevideo, Uruguay.
Well, good.
Uruguay?
Yeah.
Is it
You
cost
get
of
on a
living
bus, you get on a bus and you just go out to the
It's
country.
a little, the Atlantic side is a lot more European and kids.
Yeah.
And they take you in
I
like
just
a
don't feel like
family.
that. Mixed.
When I'm on vacation, I prefer sunset
We were
to
by
sunrise.
Exactly. 100%. 100%.
Well, we could get on and go.
Yeah,
up
we're
to
down there
Paraguay
for a few days and we're actually,
Get away for
because I had
2
some
days and
things that would
stay in
expire.
place.
I had like 4 days in Mexico, resorts to go to Mexico, and then we're flying
Out with
to
the gauchos one night, we were in the
Nebraska
fire,
to do
and
my
our
daughter.
job was to
Oh.
grab some grease and sit around the couch.
We're gone about that good. They'll know that there won't
Wait,
be a whole lot of
wait,
meetings.
You have the craziest
It's-
stories.
We're both
Okay,
gone, we're
the
gone from
vampire
that.
bat?
Vampire bats,
We're
look at
gone
them.
until the day before
And you
March
sit around.
executive
Okay, you're there a little bit longer than I am, which is
And
good.
our job was to grab grease and set.
So you're there
put
until,
on the floors. that you
no, you're there for quite a while.
And then you have a thing
Yeah,
called
till
a
March
Mai Tai, which is a
11th,
gourd.
right?
And I'm sitting there and you pour the tea in it and the hot water and stuff and you drink out of the
Yeah,
straw. and
we're
it's
flying
Mai Tai
back
gaucho with
10th or
the
11th.
10th or 11th, okay.
And you start.
I don't know exactly
drinking
when we're
this
coming
tea and
back. We
all of a
fly to
sudden,
Omaha
fire
on
starts
March
turning
1st.
colors. What the hell
And
is
I'm
in
not
the
sure
tea?
how much my daughter will have packed by then. So
I'm
we're
serious,
helping
it
pack
was.
for a few days.
Was it
Depending
Cava?
on
Was
what
it
kind of shape,
Cava?
but I should be back by the
I don't know, you had
5th-ish.
your own
I'm
little
thinking or
board.
6th.
Called Look it up, Mai Tai.
Excited to
I
be
bet
going
it-
back.
You have it before the hot water in. Wow, man, that's a cool.
I just-
thing.
Wait.
4
Okay, let's
weeks
see
and
how to
I
spell
flew
this.
back
What is
just
it?
for the meeting.
Jamie wants to try one tonight.
No, I'm
Never
pretty
do that
sure it's
again.
kava, which you can get in tea form, but it's not
Look, I
like,
wish
and you
they'd
get
get
it at
that
the store, but
virtual
it's not as intense as
Fixed. I mean, I
what
don't think
he's
all of them,
talking
but
about. But like, I know that there is the possibility for that with
3 or
kava.
something. I was
don't
gonna
know
ask
if
Chet
it's
what
in
he
it.
thought
I don't know what
about.
it
Or was it
but-
ayahuasca? Were you doing ayahuasca? Did you get another guy?
The Gauchos were cool, though, they were real farmers, they had ostriches and cattle down there. They raised ostriches and llamas. Usually the llamas were in Colombia.
Okay, what's this called again? What am I looking at?
Oh, do you know what? Oh, I'm sorry.
Uruguay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Gaucho or
Take this one down.
Mai
Gao.
Tai.
Ma Tai?
Mai Tai is the gourd.
Sorry about that.
P-A-H-I?
Oh.
What is a gaucho?
Gaucho, yeah, is,
That is the colorful horseman in Cowhand of the Argentine.
oh, yeah, that's what it is.
Isn't she your district? Can I put in gourd?
Yeah, how do
I'm gonna
they-
say gourd tree.
Right, it's Mataahi, where to buy them, like,
So it's a gourd?
it's actually a gourd.
Or
It's
what
a-
they put in it?
You know, you put the tea or what into it and
Okay.
then you got the straw, they're handmade, but they use an actual gourd.
What is it? Did we find out?
Boy, because I just thought I found
Mate.
Yeah.
I was happy with the tea I just found, that but it's a Lipton with Orgeron, so.
Let me just say, the fire, it wasn't as cold as it used to be.
What did you put in it? They didn't,
They didn't tell me. I didn't ask.
it's yerba mate.
They love Americans down there, though. They love Americans, they do. To go down there and you could get on a bus and go away in the finest country. And you go to Brazil and there's 2 streets in Brazil and Uruguay. You can walk over, there's no border between them. One street is
America.
yes.
Yeah.
One street is Brazil and one is Uruguay. And they speak Portugal on this side,
Yeah.
Portuguese, and they speak Spanish on this side.
All right, so what we did
It makes
is
the
we
story
put them on
start.
2 sheets.
I know you.
We try to combine them, some of them. Some of you said the same thing, so if your wording isn't up there, Deb and I try to do is kind of combine them as we could. And certainly you had the same idea, but just with different wording. So, do each of you have a pen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I have one of
So
these.
each get 5 slash marks, okay? So go up there, you have 5 votes.
Yeah.
You can put them on 5 different topics, or you can put all 5. If you feel strongly on one topic, you put all your 5 votes in one, or you can divide it anywhere you want. So basically, you have 5 votes
And what are we voting?
on these goals and these objectives, what you think are priorities. So you each have 5. You can take your 5 votes any way that you want. So just go below each other one, and if you think that's priority, put 1 slash mark, or 5 slash marks.
Jimmy, he
So-
says we know who you are.
So you can.
Below is where
You
you're
already
voting.
know. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, so. we
JK,
left a line
everyone.
Between each one. So if you think listen to all members of this community is one of your.
It looks,
you
she's
will
just
put your 5
kidding.
votes, just put a little slash mark below it.
So let's go in order.
No order, you've got 2 sheets, you can kind of.
For the benefit of the audience,
Yep.
could you read these?
Okay, yep, goals, and by the way, Deb is very good penmanship compared to me. And once again, we
I wouldn't
try
be
to
able to read
kind of
them if I
combine them. So if your exact wording is not there, we try to do the best we could. So 1 is listen to all members, communicate better. Flexibility on major issues, lead by example, teamwork, put past politics, I believe it was.
Yep.
Aside, openly express your views respectfully, set goals with specific objectives and timelines, review the organizational structure, become an effective board, successfully complete the finance and HR reorganization, stay in the lane and let staff do their job, respect time, say your piece, and then be quiet. Eliminate personnel and finance committees, stop micromanage of employees, and energy task force / finishing government building, begin transition to computer, I think new software or technology, develop a healing process with staff, soft skills for leadership,
Are you lobbying?
do not use specific interest groups to sabotage the meeting. Do the tasks you were elected to do. So you have, let's make it 6 votes. You have 6 votes. You have 6 slash marks.
6, all right?
You have 6. You can put them anywhere you want.
Got a bonus.
Yep. You can put them anywhere you want. You can divide them anywhere you want, all 6, as long as you come up with 6.
Well, they're doing
Oh, we get 6, not 5? We get 6?
You get 6, let's make it 6.
Woo! Can I use 3 of yours? I get 9.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can trade if you want.
Can you purchase other people's?
No, this is not a game.
I said I had $5. Do I have to give the $5 back? Oh, yeah. Do I have to give the $5 back?
That's quite
can't
a
document
bunch
these.
of topics, Jeff, from this group. I mean, the first 3 was mine, but they had to be everybody else's too, so.
Well, you said you're pretty good at skills.
Yeah, it was like, but some of this, yeah, they're thinking out of the box.
Who is?
We don't think of it.
Yeah.
Below it?
It's below.
Below.
Yeah.
Kama, you need a stool to stand on?
Oh.
There's that be respectful.
She's never been to Space Mountain,
Yeah.
but she's not tall enough.
Hey,
I don't
she
know, is it-
can jump.
There's a lot of slash marks on the lowest thing there. I don't know what that means, but
I'm the shortest person in my house. I know how.
You got me, you know?
No, Finn is shorter than you.
Huh?
Finn is not.
Oh, no, he's not, yes, because he's two. But he's going to be. He counts. He's gonna be short though, like, poor kid. He's gonna have a 6 foot tall sister and he's gonna be like
My
5'4".
9-month-old grandchild is almost as big as his 2-year-old sister.
Did you get your pumpkin? Actually, that market 22 is a good quarter, trying to think about youth board them.
Why?
Rex and Ricky.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, well,
So excuse me. That's my way of saying excuse me.
I'm fine with Papa Rex. I was telling
Oh, are
my
they?
daughter,
Yeah,
my
good.
newest grandchild, my granddaughter's named
That's a major
Serafina,
redo there.
which is an Italian saint, And my wife is always gonna tell me it's Serafina Joselle, our middle name is named after. But her other daughter's name is Liliana. And they're all gorgeous names, but I told her, I said, when they get older, you get mad at them. You know how hard it is to remember who you're talking about and see all through all, because I don't know, you wheel through all the names on your kids. I don't know if you did that or not, but I'd be like, Sarah Benj. I knew who it was, but I never, and I said, you're gonna have like Liliana Seraph, it's gonna take you a half
They were talking
hour
about
to get to.
something in it, but I didn't.
I know, it sounds like an opera song, really, doesn't it? An Italian opera. Yeah.
Decaf.
They're both actually Italian names.
And it's just an individual
What a
foil.
beautiful.
It's not Lipton, it's
They had pictures, I don't even know how they do this.
That's
you know.
It's a
Oh, he actually is Italian.
individually foil wrapped.
His name
Lipton,
sounds,
but the other one.
not, Nussbaum is his name, which you would
No,
think
just
is
a
a
company, you know,
Jewish name,
individual
but it's
foil.
Italian.
And it's a
Trying to think who sent me those pictures.
No, we haven't, but it's.
Yeah, it doesn't.
When I was working.
Somebody's.
What, you know what I'm talking about, that herb? It's cinnamon
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's really good.
there you are.
Well done.
Seems like a name of a fine Italian restaurant. Or something, you know, like if they have
I did.
some guapa, a nice.
And your little step.
I ordered a pair of shoes.
Those are so nice. I've got one when I work on stuff, kneel down on my knee.
I'm fine there. She had professional pictures taken, and this baby is 10 days old, this picture. And I don't know how they did it, and I can remember, she sent me,
Yeah, it was nice, like just putting one Christmas tree, I started one more. To take that But then when we had to get it all, we started selling.
All right.
And I didn't check that, so.
I'll
if you
give you a
and I
call.
remember what they did.
yes,
And
Yeah,
now that's.
last year we started in March.
wait,
But after we have one report, after we have one report to the board.
It's yerba mate. Yerba mate.
I'll get you that.
Yeah.
I
I didn't know that yerba mate.
I got into it, I did a.
Two direct reports to the board.
They scheduled.
Oh,
they
yeah,
nine-
yeah.
Because the finance committee, somebody's got to work.
Right.
But they just.
I used to
Well,
get,
well, let's-
when I lived in New York, I
Really?
drank a lot of yerba mate.
Yeah.
He got high on yerba mate. I didn't know it would,
Yeah.
the stimulus.
Well, we were,
Maybe somebody used
we were
five
in the bodyguards and, they, our house was explosive and stuff. We had worked 10 days off, 10 days straight, 12 hours a day, and we had 6 off, and they wanted to get out of the country. We weren't allowed to, we weren't allowed to go, they kidnapped from our agricultural worker,
But
ran over one of our
say
guys.
we want to say we all.
I mean, it was bad times. We had bodyguards to take us from the embassy house to the embassy.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then
I died.
I went to Brazil and got a whole bunch of guns and brought them back through the diplomatic bag. Because they couldn't search it. Everybody in there had their own gun. You can't search a diplomatic bag, right?
A man.
So you smuggle and you just.
Didn't smuggle. You can't open a diplomatic bag. You
I
can't
was
do it.
allowed.
All right, so, thank you. I think all these followed directions quite well.
But we're not sure if Jamie did.
Well, I said most of you.
Oh,
What did I do?
No, I didn't say you.
Oh, Melinda did. Melinda threw me under the bus.
Followed directions.
You were getting the
So I'm going to
stink
throw
eye
the
from the
comments
clerk.
about someone's height, but we'll ignore that. All right, so these are your top ones, and there's, it's actually quite easy, but there's 5 that came right to the surface. It's not close, so the ones that received the most votes, and all of them had 5 votes and one had 4, so that means there's a lot of unity. And really, nothing else came close, so these are just in order of, I'll lead with 5 votes first. Stop the micromanagement of employees. Teamwork, put the past politics aside. Stay in our lane and let the staff do their job. Eliminate the personnel and finance committees. And successfully complete the transition of finance and HR. You all agree?
No.
I'm just saying these are, do you agree that?
Recount.
Not individually.
I want to see the one on stay in your own lane. How many did that have? Or not, no, I'm sorry, put politics aside.
Was this tabulated by you, Chet, or by a Dominion voting machine? Because
Yes, on paper, you can look at it. Stay on your lane. Let staff had 5 votes.
One person, one ballot, one vote, okay?
So would you read those? We
Yeah,
got 6
and
votes,
maybe
so just
either
read
Michelle
that.
or Deb can type this up and sign out to everyone. And I'll give them, okay.
Thank you,
So,
Chet, I'm gonna need those, and Deb and I will share,
yeah,
but I
you
do need to keep
would-
them in my file.
okay, I'll read them up once again. These all had 5 votes. Stop the micromanagement of employees.
Okay,
Teamwork, put the past politics aside.
okay.
Stay in the lane and let the staff do their job, which is kind of related to micromanagement. Eliminate the personnel and finance committees. And successfully complete the finance and HR reorganization.
Is that the 4 votes?
That's what's for.
Wait, eliminate HR, and then
I thought-
what's the last one?
Okay, once again, the 5, we got 5 votes. And I know, we just quickly, and you'll get them out.
My brain is so small.
Okay, no. Stop micromanagement of employees.
Stop micromanaging.
Create more of a teamwork approach. Put past politics aside. Stay in the lane and let the staff do their job. Eliminate personnel and finance committees. All of those had 5 votes. And the next one with 4 votes is successfully complete the finance and HR reorganization.
I thought, put politics aside had 5 votes.
It did.
It did.
It did.
Okay.
Yeah, all of them.
Which
had
is,
5.
which is teamwork, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I had 5 votes, yep. No one else had 4 votes, a couple had 3, but I'll get this to Michelle, you can do your magic with that.
Well, and I'll share, Deb and I
I wrote them down too.
I just gotta put them in.
So hopefully that's helpful.
I'd like to see the whole tally.
Yeah,
Those that get 3, too.
yeah, it would be helpful if you could type up the entire thing and
Yep,
pass it
yep,
on.
yep.
So it does kind of give you an idea how to go forward. Obviously, this is not official meeting, you're not voting anything, but it does give a sense. And so we're almost done here. So final thoughts, I found in quotes here. Great leaders always strive for good governance. There should be only one political analogy, and that is good governance. I think it's true. But one thing that I observed today is all you were laughing, working together, and that's good. And that's the key. You all have to work together. These are big issues, but you have to find some humor. It's great that all of you were laughing, interacting together. That's not always the case when I've done this. I won't mention where, but I was at one meeting, and they were just sitting there, the 7 people at this table. And I went through a presentation, and no look on their faces, just, I thought I really bombed. The next day I got a call back from the board chairman, said, this is great, this is exactly what he needed. I said, I thought I bombed. He goes, no, we just don't like each other. None of us like each other. Well, that could be a problem.
That's honest.
But that's what it was. I mean, at least they're open about it. So I did a follow-up. And they were honest about it. They just didn't like each other. They all had too many personal agendas from the past and could never get beyond them. And that's why they were struggling. And anyone sitting in that audience could tell that. And because they were just sitting there, no smiles, no laughter, no interaction. It was the strangest meeting I ever been to, and I found out why. I thought I kind of found out that. So,
I would like to say that I really appreciate how well we all work together.
that's the key.
And we do, and I will say Commissioner Rookie has introduced laughter, which is awesome, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
You get all of the credit?
No giggle puss, I do not.
No, you mistake. What was it? People are laughing at him.
I say, were you laughing with them or at him? Was the question.
Thank you.
Okay, I hope you thought this was helpful, beneficial. I love to see laughter. That means there's hope for the future. I think you're at the dark night, but the sun's coming up. And it's up to all of you how you go forward. Any thoughts, comments?
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I do, go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, are those our goals for 2024?
I think you need to have a further dialogue about them.
I agree, and
It's a good start.
we didn't have any in 2023. People keep saying like we did, but we didn't. We haven't talked goals at all, seriously, and given it the time that it takes. So, this is a start, but it doesn't feel like where we need to go with this.
I
So,
can tell you, if you do goals, if someone put up, you need objectives, you need a timeline.
Timeline.
You know who's going to be responsible.
yeah,
'Cause
so,
if you don't, everyone assumes someone else is going to do it.
so my question to this group is, when is that going to happen? When are we going to put that on an agenda? When are we going to seriously give it some time and concerted effort to agree instead of just say we're getting along?
Yes.
I say we put it on the next agenda. Do I need to make a motion? I can't, but I mean,
You asked to put it on the agenda. It's a good item. It's a good
I
item.
think you're right, any commissioner has the right to put things on the agenda, so ask that you on the agenda.
I request to put it on the agenda. Is that a formal request I can give to Administrator Allen?
The
Or to you?
agenda for next week is already done, so you're welcome to put it on the March agenda.
I would love to see
Can't
that
you do a
agenda.
late edition?
Oh, she wants to do a late
Or you
edition.
can, at the meeting,
Yeah.
you can make a motion to amend the agenda.
I will warn us that the e-packet is 400 and some pages, so it's going to be a long meeting. It may be that we want to have a separate, I know our consultant has talked about the number of meetings, but there are sometimes a committee of the whole meeting works well, and that might be one. Jamie?
This is gonna sound the most ridiculous thing. There's this commercial, I'd love to share with you guys whether I send it but it's a Heineken commercial from 2017, it's called Worlds Apart. Has anyone seen it? It's about conservatives and, the other side. Working together on a project and how they get to know each other prior to disclosing anything about their politics. And it is just a beautiful, I think really conveys like what we're dealing with here. We're all trying to build something. We have different ideas, maybe how it should be built, but maybe, we could take those out and in order to, stick together and build it. And Ty wants to go and have a beer. Take him up on it.
Will you send that to us
Yeah, I
all
can send
before
it out.
before we have that beer?
Yes. I think you guys all need to see it. It's just, it's beautiful. And it's not just a commercial. It's not a narrative. They put two strangers in a room together to build something. So It's fascinating, really.
Chet, we'll invite everybody here to
Thirsty.
send you some feedback. So let's make sure that we all have Chet's MLI email address, and if you have some thoughts or some feedback for Chet that you think of later, please, this has been good. It's been helpful. Thank you. Belinda?
I guess my thoughts are, if you want to, because this is probably something we could beat to death, I think we really should just kind of absorb this information for a little while. We've got the packet. I want to go back over Chet's presentation. I would just say, we could all maybe think of ways we can make these things happen. Okay? But I wouldn't put it on executive. It's already a big packet. We could do something ahead of a regular board meeting, perhaps, if you really wanted to dig into it and bring forward more things. I don't know. I don't know what you have in mind, a working document, but I don't know. I just think these are fine things, and we can go from there.
I'd make one final observation, Chet, on this last exercise we did. I found it interesting that you could put all of your marks on one spot. So it makes it hard to define whether this is really the majority of somebody wanting to happen or one person wants it to happen really bad. And so I actually find that less effective than if you were limited to put one mark per thing you thought was important, because there's no way for me to discern from what I see. What's the thought of this
The flip
group?
side, if you have 6 votes, or you're putting votes on stuff, you really don't have a high priority. If you're really strong on one goal, you have opportunity to get that across. It's just a starting point.
Right, that's why I caution this board, when they read this, to put too much into the thought process you saw there, because there's no way to know which of those two things happened.
It's just a snapshot.
Yeah.
Oh, you
At
mean you
least
could
give
give,
you some ideas.
we could have given 2 votes to one thing?
I suspect it had to have happened.
You didn't follow instructions.
You could have given steps.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody gets.
And I don't think that would have been fair.
But that is the way it had, I suspect it had to have happened, so, yeah.
It's just a snapshot to give you an
Yeah.
idea where to start.
Write that down. Doug is telling us not to put too much thought into it. Write that down.
No, I'm just asking, I'm just giving you a factual representation of what you saw and what actually happened, so, yeah.
And some of the things said the same thing, kind of.
They did.
Yeah,
Kind of.
yeah.
Yeah, some of them sound like.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun.
Yep.
It's been fun.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chet.
Chet.
Thank you very
Let's give him a
much.
round of applause.
Thank you, Chet.
And I'll say, laughter isn't really a new thing on this board, because we used to laugh at Chet a lot too, so.
And we thank our public for sticking with us, and it's now time to hear from you if you have public comment. Yes, Dr. Conley.
Hi, Barb Conley, Northport. I'm really happy you all spent this time to try and learn how better to work together. I also take Kama's comment that some goals would be in order. There's a lot of needs in the county, from infrastructure to needs of the population, and they're very important, and they need to be taken care of. And you have been through a rough time, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. Sometimes you come out better at the end. You never know when you're in it how it's going to turn out. So I really appreciate what you did, and I also take Commissioner Rexroth's comment that if you put six on one thing, that doesn't make a consensus. And so that you have to hash out later. But I really appreciate you spending
Thanks,
this
Jeff.
much time, because we can't work together, none of the goals can get done. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Bill?
Thank you. Yay.
That's the presentation, Doug.
Hot off the press. Better be.
Oh,
Oh, that's what it's from.
I'm sorry, I don't
Okay.
know these guys.
Yeah.
Bill Wiesner, Gumwood Township. Sign said no fraud. Chet mentioned trust is the thing that makes things work. 62% of the people think the 2020 election was determined by fraud. Also, Navy SEALs must have trust. These machines are not trustworthy. They're black box machines. So no fraud. We need one person, one ballot, one vote, one day. And just to go back to this handout that I had, this first page, number 1, that I gave you earlier, Microsoft SQL Server was on the Dominion machines in Colorado that Tina Peters backed up, doing her job. She backed it up because she knew the trust is built. What a name for something that's going to delete all the records before the 2 years is up that they're supposed to hold them. So Microsoft SQL Server, you can switch the votes directly from the keyboard. You can switch it from a thumb drive too. He shows both of those things happening. Then the second thing is the Haldeman report. He said I'm just picking parts of it, if Georgia were to improve its logic and accuracy test. If Georgia were to improve its logic and accuracy process by testing with a greater number of ballots, attackers could simply increase the number of ballots. The malware is skipped accordingly. No practical method of pre-election or parallel testing can rule out malware design-based fraud. Malware can subvert the logic and accuracy testing and can skip cheating until the test is complete. So anyway, that's what Professor Haldeman said. And then number 3 is at Elmwood Township. I think I've mentioned this before. The test last year, I was there, and I asked the clerk, Connie Preston, if I said I heard that people have copied these ballots and run them through in this logic test, and they were accepted. And she said, no, that can't happen. And I said, well, can we try it? And she said, no, it should be just the opposite. We should be going forward. We should have tried some copies here when we did it at the county. If it can't happen, let's try it and prove it. So, and then going on to the DVD, this one really shows a lot of the fraud that happened in pretty much every election since then. It's Let My People Go is a film presented by slaves, produced by the anonymous, directed by the censored. Let My People Go is a modern-day deliverance story that presents 2 overlapping narratives of the America's enslavement. The first form of slavery is invisible and achieved by the deep state's use of proprietary black box machines and rigged election software where perception is altered and swamp candidates are selected rather than elected. And the second form of slavery is the real-life consequences of the hundreds of thousands of Americans that gathered and protested the stolen November 3rd election, many of which are in prison today. It's 2 hours and 16 minutes. I hope you will all watch it. I hope to give each one of you one of these. For anyone who can say that they will watch it, and so many people believe this, I would hope that you would say you will watch it and do that. And because we have to understand why so many people don't trust these machines. And if things don't go forward without trust, this is a must to watch. So I'll offer them to you after the meeting gets over. And thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Bill.
Any other public comment? Thank you for coming today. Any commissioner comment? Motion to adjourn until 2 o'clock.
Motion to adjourn.
We will reconvene at 2 o'clock with a special meeting.